Hello, and welcome to this lecture on Ireland. I'm David Marler from Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences, and this mini lecture is for the course Culture and Literature 1.2. Now first we have to get some terminology straight. Ireland is the name of an island in the British Isles. The Republic of Ireland is in the south and west of the island, and it makes up a majority of the island. Its capital is Dublin. Northern Ireland is one of the four countries in the UK, and it has its capital in Belfast. As you can see below, we have, bottom left, the flag of the Republic of Ireland. It's actually a unity flag, or a tricolor, with green on the left representing the Catholics, and orange on the right representing the Protestants, and of course the white symbolizing unity between the two. We then have the Union Jack on the top right, and this is the flag of the entire United Kingdom of Northern Ireland and Great Britain. We can see there are three flags within this larger flag. The basis is, of course, the English flag in the middle, which is the white and red T-shaped cross. We then have the flag of Scotland, which is an X-shaped cross in blue and white. And then we have the X-shaped flag of St. Patrick, which is red and white. It's a symbol of the three different countries that make up four of the countries of the United Kingdom. Now, since the 1990s, Ireland has been a peaceful place that has undergone a huge economic transition. This is often referred to as the Celtic Tiger, which is a term referring to the economy of the Republic of Ireland from the mid-1990s to the late 2000s. And it represents a period of rapid economic growth fueled by foreign direct investment. But all this has recently changed with the Brexit. For those of you paying attention to the news, the major issue is the so-called backstop. And this backstop upholds a key important part of the Good Friday Agreement, all topics we're going to discuss today, which ended years of violence in Northern Ireland called the Troubles. A crucial part of the peace meant that there would never be a border between the Republic of Ireland in the south and Northern Ireland in the north, which of course is part of the United Kingdom. Now, there hasn't been much violence in recent years until just a few weeks ago on April 18th, 2019. For many in Ireland, both Republic and the Northern Ireland, the greatest fear is that the violence between the Catholics and Protestants will be revived. This partially became true with the killing of the 29-year-old journalist in Derry, or Londonderry, on April 18, 2019. A group called the New IRA, or Irish Republican Army, has admitted to killing this journalist. In order for us to understand the violence that has in many ways been a crucial part of Irish history in the 20th century, we have to look at Anglo-Irish history in general. Now, up to the mid-12th century, Ireland had total autonomy. It was its own country with its own language. And just like the English history changed with the Norman invasion, so did Irish history. Now, it started with the Norman French, and this painting depicts the 1170 marriage of the Norman knight Richard de Clare, the second Earl of Pembroke, to the Irish princess Ava McDermott in Christ Church Cathedral in Waterford. It is portrayed as a pivotal moment in the Norman conquest of Ireland and the death of Gaelic Ireland. It started the long-held British occupation of Ireland. Now, it generally stayed the same that there were British lords, which were also Catholic, not that different from the actual Irish but Gaelic-speaking people of Ireland. And this all changed with Henry VIII. There were relatively few issues between the Irish and English until Henry VIII and the English Reformation. But between 1536 and 1691, Ireland saw a full conquest. This conquest led to two major parts. One was the subordination of the country to London-based governments. London was now able to decide what happened in Ireland. And two was sectarian animosity between Catholics and Protestants. We also see here that under Henry VIII, the harp, which is the Republic of Ireland's national symbol, was used for the first time. At this time, this led to a lot of propaganda from both sides. Here we can see a Catholic print showing how the English Protestants treated the Catholics in Ireland. This one is from 1583. It depicts the hanging of Irish Catholics, and you can see figures wearing bishops' caps. So we knew that these were high priests or bishops. Same, we also have the English in the way that they portrayed the Irish to be barbarians who attacked the Protestant landowners. It stayed generally this way until we have Oliver Cromwell, who arrived with troops. He was an English military and political leader, and he served as Lord Protector of the Commonwealth of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1653 until his death, acting simultaneously as the head of state and the head of the government of this new republic. Now, at this time, we have to know that England, or the United Kingdom, is not a kingdom at all, but rather a commonwealth. This led to large animosity between the Irish Catholics and, of course, the Protestant landowners. Many of them had written, for instance, in this text here, written by the Catholic clergy about Oliver Cromwell, in which they say, "You are a part Antichrist, whose kingdom the scriptures so expressly speak should be laid in blood, and ere it be long. You must all of you have blood to drink, even the dregs of the cup of the fury and wrath of God, which will be poured out unto you." So at the time, the Irish, and especially the Irish Catholics, were quite angry. And there was one reason for this. We could say that it's religion, but that's oversimplifying it. In reality, it's land. As you can see here, one of the biggest changes occurred in Ireland as a result of Catholic land ownership. In 1641, a majority of the island was 50% or more in Catholic hands. But slowly as time progressed, Catholic land ownership plummeted. All the while, Catholics remained by far the largest group in the UK. It also created a class difference that must be noted. The Protestants in Ireland were by far overrepresented in the land-owning upper classes. This stayed the case up to Irish independence in the 20th century. It is also the case in Northern Ireland today, where the middle class is most often Protestant. This makes the idea of an Irish war on religion very, very complicated, because in reality, it also has a class aspect to it. Now, this ownership, which essentially moved from being Protestant to being, or from being Catholic to being Protestant, also led to the Catholics being generally poorer. And we see this as being a crucial part during the Irish potato famine. Now, the Irish potato famine, or the Great Famine, or Great Hunger, was a period in Ireland between 1845 and 1849 of mass starvation, disease, and emigration, with the most severely affected areas in the west and south of Ireland, where the Irish language Gaelic was primarily spoken. The worst year of the period is called Black 47, and during the famine, about 1 million people died and 1 million more immigrated from Ireland, causing the island's population to fall between 20 and 25%, which is, of course, devastating to an economy. A majority of these migrants moved to the United Kingdom and the United States. And in the United States, this is then a major aspect of the second immigration wave, which we will discuss in another lecture. The potato famine was caused by potato blight, which infected potato crops throughout Europe during the 1840s. Potato blight is a mold that causes tomatoes and potatoes to die. Because the potato had become a staple food product and the main source of carbohydrate in the Irish population, this led to massive calorie deficit and led eventually to 1 million people dying of starvation. So a lot of these Irish poor people, generally Catholic and often non-English or Gaelic speaking, moved to other places. Now, the closest place for them to move was, of course, the United Kingdom. And after the potato blight, the Irish were depicted across the English-speaking world, these new, poor, non-English-speaking immigrants, and more specifically in England, as barbarian. Irish racism in Victorian Britain in the 19th century United States included the stereotyping of the Irish as violent and alcoholic. Some English illustrators depicted a prehistoric ape-like image of Irish faces to bolder evolutionary racist claims that the Irish people were inferior, especially when compared with the Anglo-Saxons. A lot of this came from the mass immigration of the Irish to poor areas of the UK, for instance, Liverpool, where they started to take lower-class working positions in factories during Victorian England. This led to a commonplace practice of banning them from public places like pubs and restaurants. And it also caused the Irish to feel inferior. This led to the 1916 Easter Uprising. The Easter Uprising took place in Dublin, and it was planned by the Irish Republican Brotherhood, which was virtually confined 100% to Dublin. This was the opening act of the Irish War for Independence. Confusion was caused by a rash of conflicting orders sent out by Irish volunteers, the main strike force, from their headquarters, and the decision was taken by rebel leaders to postpone their actions for Easter Sunday 23rd. At first, the Irish public didn't support this uprising. The uprising was quite small and led to Dublin being a chaotic place for the weekend. The post office was taken over and a free Irish state was declared. But the English backlash and the execution of several young Irish leaders led the general Irish public to support the cause of a free Irish republic. Now, this led to several different events happening in the early 20th century. The first was the Anglo-Irish War, which took place from 1919 to 1921. This was a war for the Irish independence, and it led to the Anglo-Irish Treaty of 1921, which was essentially the partition of Ireland, or the creation of two separate countries on one island, with Protestants in the north, also called Ulster, and the Catholics taking the rest of the island. This also led to what was called the Irish Civil War, which was a conflict that followed the Irish independence and accompanied the establishment of an Irish Free State, an independent country, but was still part of the British Empire. And of course, a majority of the people wanted the Republic of Ireland, which was in no way associated with the Commonwealth. After this, we get to a larger few decades of troubles called the Troubles. Now, the term the Troubles almost sounds benign. Troubles are inconvenient and annoying. The term makes some of the bloody, violent, and vicious acts of the 3 decades between 1968 and 1998, when different groups in Northern Ireland fought, with acts of violence from Northern Ireland itself and the mainland of Great Britain. The armed groups which had grown up did not melt away, but remained and later played an important role in the Troubles. Well-known paramilitary groups included the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, which had existed in various forms since 1916 and fought in various ways for a Catholic Republic of Ireland, and the UFF, the Ulster Volunteer Force, established in 1966, which aims to fight Republicans and fight for a Protestant North. Groups such as the UFF that have a Protestant identity are also known as Unionists, as they see themselves loyal to the British state and want to keep Northern Ireland part of the United Kingdom. This is contrast to groups such as the IRA, who are often called Republicans because they fought for the Republic in the South. Now, the Troubles included a lot of violence, including not suicide bombings, but bombings, which often led to the killings of several people. But the largest was Bloody Sunday in 1972. On Bloody Sunday, 30 January, 13 civilians were shot dead by the British Army during a civil rights march in Londonderry, or as the Catholics like to call it, Derry. This led to many different fighting between the two different groups and eventually towards hunger strikes. On 27 October 1980, IRA members began a hunger strike aimed at restoring political status for paramilitary prisoners by securing what were known as the 5 demands. So we can see below the 5 demands were 1, the right to wear a prison uniform, 2, the right not to do prison work, 3, the right of free association with other prisoners and to organize educational and recreational pursuits, 4, the right to 1 visit, 1 letter, and 1 parcel per week, and 5, the restoration of remission lost through the protest. Now, the most important of these is, of course, Bobby Sands. Richard Gerard Sands was a member of the Provisional Irish Republican Army, and he died on a hunger strike while imprisoned at Prison Maze after being sentenced for firearm possessions. There were several bombings, and a lot of people died between 1968 and 1998, but this all changed with the Good Friday Agreement. After years of fighting, the 1990s saw a change in the region as the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, announced it would stop the bombings and shootings. This gave the Unionists or the Nationalists the opportunity to try to sort out their problems. It was not an easy process, and other countries got involved to help the two sides reach a deal. And in 1998, after nearly two years of talks and 30 years of conflict, the Good Friday Agreement was signed. This resulted in a new government being formed that would see power being shared between the Unionists and the Nationalists or the Republicans. It also set up a borderless Ireland with a customs and border union between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom. But this has all been falling apart in recent years. In January 2017, the deal between the main parties in Northern Ireland have collapsed, and it is yet to be restored to this date, May 2019. We also now have the issue of the backstop. In November of 2017, an agreement was also reached on a backstop for the Irish border, a way to provide a guarantee that there would be no hard border on the island of Ireland, no matter what the future trade agreements are between the EU and the UK. This cleared the way for a draft withdrawal agreement and final talks on political declaration outlining the principles for future negotiations. This draft needed to be ratified politically by both sides, the European Union and the Parliament in the UK. The process was subsequently thrown into crisis after Theresa May failed on a number of occasions to secure support from the House of Commons for her deal. The question remains what the future will hold for Ireland after the UK leaves the EU. The larger issue has always been the backstop, which ensures that there will never be a border. If the UK creates a border, this will essentially end the main agreement of the Good Friday Agreement, which has given more than 20 years of peace on the island. So one of the big questions that we're now facing, especially with Brexit, is what will happen with Ireland, and will there be sustained peace? So this is something that you have to think about. What do you think will happen? Thank you. This is the end of the lecture. Please look at the terms on the list of key terms that we have not used in this lecture because you still have to study them. Thank you.